Audio delay test. Audio delay test. 5-ish seconds. All right. Audio delay test. Chat delay test. Oh, I forgot to hit enter. No wonder it was taking so long. All right, let's try that again. Chat delay test. All right, about 6 seconds. That's not so bad. Sorry, I've been mucking with some settings and I'm trying to get everything where I want it to be and decide whether or not I want to try out the Streamlabs chat instead of what I've been doing. All right, so without further ado, good evening everyone, my name is Phil Gallagher, I run Thraben University, and tonight we are going to be streaming mono white D&T of some nature. Normally I have this all done beforehand, but I think I'm going to make some quick changes. So let's kind of recap where we've been at, and then I'll talk about what I want to try tonight. So our last league was a 5-0 with mono white D&T. I believe it was this build right here, just like solid, no nonsense, you know, bonus planes over Cavern of Souls. Our one prior to that was a 4-1 with a Selfless Spirit build. Before that, it was a, let's see, a 3-2 with a Judge's Familiar build. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And before that, it was a 4-1 with a mono white build. So things have been going pretty well for the various mono white decks as well as the red white decks. But there's something that I wanted to try out. We tried the Selfless Spirits in a red-white deck a couple of leagues back, and that was pretty good. Was very happy with the deck list. I wasn't necessarily sold on this random Revoker in the sideboard, but other than that, I really liked this 75, and Selfless Spirit sounded pretty good. The white-white lists have been feeling pretty solid, so I think I want to try another league with the mono white build, but sub Serra Avengers for Selfless Spirits to see how it goes there. Oh, Dr. Bill, thank you so much for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Thank you for that. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I've got you right. It is also your birthday, and happy birthday to you. Not so hot on Wingmare and white-white. No, Wingmare is fine in white-white. I'm just testing other things right now. And I think you were around before. But Zach Cock and I had a pretty long conversation about Selfless Spirit, and a couple of times this week he was like, hey, you remember that match where you couldn't cast that Serra Avenger? You know what you could have cast? Selfless Spirit. It would have been great. And so I think I want to run a couple more leagues with it to see how it does with a larger sample size. We could do some true nonsense to play Bahra's 2-drop and Taxes build. I've been fantasizing about 2-drop Taxes for a long time, and admittedly, Direfleet Daredevil as like another 2-drop that's relevant might be pretty good. I saw that deck list. It was special. I didn't watch the replay because a bunch of it was muted, which really detracts from the rewatchability. I think I watched a game or two over my lunch hour, but that's all that I caught with it. Conceptually very interesting. I like the exploration that's going on there, even if I don't necessarily like love the exact deck list. Chad, if you have any comments about this deck list, feel free to throw them forth at this time. I'm just gonna take a second to kind of look over the deck list, see if there's anything I want to change, and just kind of mentally go over some of my in and out numbers to make sure that like making the change of Avenger versus Selfless Spirit doesn't like change anything drastically. I don't think it's going to, but I just want to think about it for a minute before I submit this for a league. Alright, so two separate questions. Number one, why is Selfless Spirit exciting to you? It is an aggressive creature that we can play on turn 2. Unlike Sarah Avenger, which is an aggressive creature that you can't cast till turn 4, or put into play with Aether Vial on turn 3. 2, there's a lot of red-black removal floating around the format right now. You know, Lightning Bolt, Fatal Push, Abrupt Decay, far more so than white removal like Swords to Plowshares. So Selfless Spirit can be a surprise protection spell for your relevant card in that matchup. You know, Lightning Bolt, your Mirran Crusader, it's one of my 2 outs to it. Oh, Selfless Spirit, protect it. Uh-oh, that's real bad. Similarly, like, you have some matchups where, like, you can ride Stoneforge Mystic putting in a piece of equipment to a very, very easy victory, and Selfless Spirit can go in and drop that. Zach Koch brought up the idea of Selfless Spirit because he was looking for something else to help protect from Punishing Fire in lands specifically. Is Sword of War and Peace worth it with fewer beaters / crusaders? Honestly, maybe not. It's real close there. Like, you can still curve out with Selfless Spirit relatively well. Like, that's still fine. Like, if you, like, turn 2 Stoneforge, you can turn 3 Selfless Spirit, and then equip that, and have something with Evasion to still get in there. Or, like, if you've got an Aether Vial, you know, you can hardcast Stoneforge on 2, you know, on 3, put in your piece of equipment, and then Vial in Selfless Spirit. It could be good. You really like the Recruiter in the board of white-white. I really like the Recruiter, too. Is Recruiter better than Sword of War and Peace? Let's think about our Czech Pile matchup. So for Czech Pile, I have, like, plus, 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 plus currently. And I'd kill... Where'd those Revokers go? And I'd kill the Revokers and the Swords to Plowshares. So, like, I have the right number of cards for that matchup. The question is, like, which is better, Sword of War Piece or Recruiter? If I run Recruiter, I also want to run Leonin Relic Warder. And I don't know that I have 2 slots for that. I really want this third path. Like, I'm willing to give up Sword of War and Peace in this board. I don't know that I can give up anything else. I guess I could give up a Surgical, and then run Surgical, Leonin Relic Warder. Or, excuse me, run Recruiter, Leonin Relic Warder in this. Be a little bit worse than the Mirror. About even versus Czech Pile. A little worse versus graveyard-based combo. If I do that, consider running Fairy over Surgical, because I'd have 3 Recruiters to find it. I just hate Fairy, though. I feel like it never fucking does anything, and it's just so narrow. Yeah, so like that's the thing. In order to make the change for a recruiter, I want to change 2 cards, and I don't know that I want to change 2 cards. Like, with the number of 2-drops I have, I don't really feel like I need the 3rd Rest in Peace right now. I feel like this is a very fair and balanced board. Like, I guess if I cut the Surgical and bring in Leon Relic Order, that helps my Show and Tell matchup considerably, which is not irrelevant. My general rule of thumb for mono white D&T is play 5 to 6 graveyard hate cards, and I've got 5 right now, and I'm comfortable with that. But maybe I can skimp. The issue is I don't have as many good things to search for as I do in the red-white build. Like, in the red-white build, I get to go search up Magus and P&K, which is, like, devastatingly good in a lot of matchups. Whereas here, my best bullet is Sanctum Prelate. Otherwise, most of the time, I'm just getting Flicker Wisp for value. Just, like, Recruiter, Flicker Wisp, Recruiter into Oblivion. Unless I need something specific for the matchup, like Crusader or Stoneforge. So this is probably fine. When does that 3rd path come in? Delver, Infect, a lot of random aggro-y creature-based decks, you know, ranging from, like, Burn to Merfolk. It's been very, very good for me. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and just run this as is. Is Black Red Reanimator significantly more popular on Moto than on paper? Yes, I feel like that is correct. I don't have the numbers at my side to back me up, but I feel like I play against Black Red Reanimator quite a bit. Yeah, I think I like the Zero Caverns. Like, if Delver is 25 to 28% of the metagame, or, sorry, if Grixis Delver is, like, 25% of the metagame, and then there's still, like, a 6%, you know, other Delver decks in the metagame, you know, it's time to start hedging more against Delver. Alright, this hand's unplayable. Alright, this is a reasonable hand. Really hope my opponent is playing something like Delver. I'm going to want a 3rd land eventually, but I'm going to go ahead and bottom that. Please be a fair, polluted Delta deck. Woo! Sorry, I have to get my spreadsheet pulled up here. Since more of the Delver decks are playing Spell Pierce now, I'm just going to play around that and not Stifle. Moto volume is at the normal 19. Not sure what's taking the opponent so long here. Like, if you have Stifle, you Stifle. If you have Brainstorm, you Brainstorm. Evening, Star Streak. Thanks for stopping by. Oh, I don't think I changed the name of this stream. I'll do that while my opponent is taking forever to figure out their life. It's still called White D&T. I guess I can call it Selfless Spirit. For the benefit of the YouTube folks later. So just to say this, again, while my opponent takes forever to get wastelanded, I sent out a poll to the subs. I believe it appears on your Twitch messages. You can check that by going to the top right corner of the screen, clicking on your name, and then checking messages. Apparently, it is not particularly noticeable when you go and get a message. So I sent the subs a poll about which deck list I should play. I'm just going to leave that open for another couple of days to let people respond to that at their leisure. Opponent's mind has imploded at the implication of this wasteland. Guess so. Oh man, it is bug. Great. Let's jam threats until they die, chat. I'm not gonna play around the third days. Yes, it could. I sort of feel like bug is more likely given that my opponent hasn't done much in these first couple of turns, because their hand could just be full of like shit like Abrupt Decay and Tarmogoyf. Yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah, alright, that just resolved. That's great. I don't know to what extent you can do normal things on mobile. And my opponent just scoops it up. They just have stone cold nothing there. Mirran Crusader, great magic card. This is why I love it. Alright, so we're playing against Bug Delver on the draw. We win versus Mobog. Game 1, opponent concedes to Crusader and Sophie. Crusader's too good. Too OP. Alright. Paths in. Rips and Judgments in. I wastelanded him so hard he tilted. Yeah, basically. Alright. So we'll go Revokers out. Prelate out. And the question after that is, what is next? Because recently against Delver, I've been going against the Recruiter plan. I normally board out Recruiters, and recently I've been keeping them in, at least versus Grixis Delver, and we'll see if that's going to be the case versus Bug Delver as well. But versus Bug Delver, I 100% want the Rest in Peace, so that might not necessarily be true. Like, Recruiter for Crusader is great. Regardless, I'll probably cut one Flicker Wisp. And then it's the question of which is better, Selfless Spirit or Recruiter of the Guard. And that's pretty close. Hello, hello, welcome to the stream. One split. That's reasonable. I feel like one's probably better than the other, though. Like, Recruiter for Crusader is probably just better, but Spirit blocks Delver. Spirit blocking Delver might just be important. It also might be a play-draw thing. Oh, wow, this hand is insane. Holy shit. So we lead Vile into Rip, and then put Stoneforge in for 2 turns in a row off of Vile. Oh, I said a draw step. Right, I also normally board out Recruiter versus Bug, but my normally has been changing a bit. Oh man, if this Rip resolves, ooh, goody goody gumdrops. Alright, do you have Daze or Force of Will? Nope. My day's going really, really well. Took me a little bit longer than normal to kind of get going with this stream. Alright, the Rest in Pieces is gone. That's okay, like... I guess I got minimal value off of it. Do a stifle check here. Nope, opponent is F6'd. Alright, well that's pretty nutty. I did that first to play around Spell Pierce. Oh yeah, I remember posting that. Yes, I have active plans to play Maverick. I have a deck list ready and everything. I think I'm going to play, like, regular junk Maverick, not punishing Maverick first. Yeah, I really enjoy Maverick as a deck. I think it is fun. I don't think it is as good as D&T, but it's different and attacks from a lot of the same angles that I enjoy attacking from. About the only card I care about my opponent drawing is True Name Nemesis, so I'm going to get Sword of Fire and Ice. Alright, my opponent has a Decay for the Stoneforge here. Abzan's a dirty word. We don't use that word on this stream. Alright, opponent. Enjoy. Right, we're on Mardu's stream. Ugh. You have to become a master in order to know when you're going to draw the Flicker Wisp. That's why I'm good with this deck. I know. Oh, is this just working? And my opponent is not blocking because they don't know what they're doing with their life? It's great. I love it when people don't know how to play against my cards. Oh, baby. Alright, a hymn's pretty good. However, Marin Crusader off an Ether Vial is better. And the opponent scoops it up. Marin Crusader, unbeatable force. Alright, so we're on the draw that one and we win. Game 2, opponent concedes to Crusader and Selfie. Again. Just like we wrote it up. Easy peasy. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to it. You just play Crusader and win. That's why I play 4 of them a lot. This hand is fine. See, and like that's one of my biggest names, like one of my biggest issues with those names like Abzan is like then you start attaching it to everything and they don't become descriptive at all. And it leads to a lot of problems with names further down the line. I don't know if my opponent is playing Burn or a Blood Moon deck yet, but either way, I like my chances. There we go. It's Blood Moon deck. Ah, Rabbles. Hello, Rabbles. Let the record show that pretty much no matter what play I make this turn, I am super boned if my opponent goes like Land Fiery Confluence. Because my two realistic plays for this turn are Revoker on Chrome Mox or just like Slam Jitte. I think I'm going to Revoker on Chrome Mox, that way the Goblin Rabblemaster can't attack, but if they go like Soul Land Fiery Confluence, like, oh boy, am I dead. Alright, so we stranded a bunch of cards in my opponent's hand. That's great for me. Drawing a Stoneforge is really great. So now I Vial, port them, put Stoneforge in end of turn, get Sword of Fire and Ice, put Sword of Fire and Ice on Revoker, attack in, kill Rabbles, and then put Prelate on 4, and just like lock my opponent out of the game. Sometimes you're just dead to good cards? What? It's a thing? Dying to good cards? Well, this is pretty nuts. Alright, opponent scoops it up there. They've had enough. I guess I'm a little shell-shocked from all the Nick Fit players. What gave you that idea? I'm not scared of Nicol Bolas, God Pharaoh, in Legacy. I'm 100% against that card. Alright, so game 1, we got that one pretty easily with some mana denial. Alright, Sword of War and Peace seems good. I decided that I liked Cataclysm in this matchup. I think I'll trim Batterskull. It's not good against Bridge, and it's awkward. But it's really good against the Goblin tokens of Rabblemaster, and Rabblemaster is a problem card. I'm going to play 3 of these 4 pieces of equipment. and I just kind of have to think about my life. I'll probably shave a Swords to Plowshares. All my cards are so good in this matchup that sideboarding is hard. If I'm being, like, completely honest. And there are various cards that I need to keep for weird reasons. I'll probably board out Jitte, even though it can help me get in under Ensnaring Bridge when coupled with a Stoneforge Mystic specifically. But it's going to be, like, exactly Stoneforge Mystic, because, like, most of the rest of my stuff is going to have one toughness other than Prelate, and I never, ever, ever want to put that into the red zone. Usually just board one Cataclysm. I can see one Cataclysm being fine. I can also maybe, like, trim one Thalia on the draw. Or one Mom. Mom's kind of awkward. Like, it's something that just gets swept up in Fiery Confluence. And if I'm playing the Spirits, the Spirit is better at protecting a Fiery Confluence than Mom is. Man, it's too bad you didn't board in that Forge Tender that I keep telling you to play every week. What are you trying to do with Cataclysm? Wipe Planeswalkers off of the board when my opponent gets ahead, and stop my opponent from just having 85 things in play when they're hiding behind an Ensnaring Bridge. Could also be trimming a second plow since you have Council's Judgment. Yeah, that's fair. Like, you have to respect Rabblemaster, though. Like, I've played with Rabblemaster a lot, and it gets out of control very, very quickly. Alright, looks like we're going to have another game where we revoke a Chrome Mox. Ooh, opponent had to put a Fiery Confluence under it. Well, sorry, opponent. I'm a scumbag. I don't need to prelate on 4 yet, I don't think, because my opponent would need, like, Soul Land plus Spirit Guide in order to power out a 4-drop. So I think I'd rather Stoneforge right now, and just, like, get Sword of Fire and Ice. No, get Sword of War and Peace. Yes. In that situation, I would just assume that the opponent was bad. If I'm being completely honest. Putting it on 5 in this matchup does not make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, like, the Moto misclicks are real. If opponent just, like, plays an Ensnaring Bridge, they just die. So that's great for me. If opponent goes Fiery Confluence, 2 to each creature, blow up an artifact, I still have a Revoker that chips in for 2. They take 2 more damage, I Wasteland their Ancient Tomb, and then I play a Prelate. And we're probably done. Yep. I'll blow up your Ancient Tomb. Alright. I'm going to take a moment to consider what I want to put Sanctum Prelate on. My opponent getting to 4 mana again is very unlikely, so I think I'm more likely to want to put it on 3 to dodge Ensnaring Bridge. Maybe that's not the best, though, because, like, they would have to have, like, I guess, like, land, Spirit Guide, and Bridge to empty their hand enough for me to not just kill them with the 2/2 ones, so maybe I'm just supposed to put it on 2 to play around something like an Abrade. 2 might have been better there. So, like, some matchups are just that easy, where you disrupt your opponent on exactly 1 axis, and they stumble enough for you to die. Yeah, Rek, you have to, I believe, like, resub manually once a month. I don't know if that is a Twitch Prime thing, or if that is a general, like, state of subs. I don't know. If you plug in your credit card information, it's probably more than happy to just, like, manually pull it every month for you. But I think if you use Prime, you have to manually redo it. Oh, it is a Prime thing. Okay. Hopefully you love me enough that you're willing to make a couple clicks for me every month. I don't know if you heard that, but I think one of my roommates is getting fucked real good in PUBG. I just got an oh no scream. Opponent has been seen on 4-color control and Ant somewhat recently, although it's old data. So I'm just going to keep what is a reasonable hand against a fair deck. In the face of, like, lack of data, keeping a good hand is better than mulliganing for something that is poor against a portion of the format, but great against another portion. Rec 42, remind me at the end of this match. And I will send that to you. Or if our opponent starts comboing off, I'll send it to you. Ooh, actually I still have... Alright, Rec 42, I sent you a little message there that has the link to vote. That is for subs only, though, so please don't share that. There was a little bit longer message attached, but the gist of it is, hey, pick one of these and I'm going to stream it. Oh, losing that land was a little bit rough. Oh yeah, we're definitely playing against Pile. Really wanted that other land to curve out. I'm going to jam the Stoneforge here, because if I draw another land, I want to have options. Actually, maybe that's bad. Like, maybe since I don't have another 2-drop, I'm just supposed to, like, play Mom and pass. Folks, you're laughing, but take a look at the new set of follower goals below the stream. Some of the decks you're talking about are down there. I think you'll get a good laugh at the 1,000 one. I did it, keeping all of you in mind. Ooh, all right. So I can just put this Sword of Fire and Ice into play, and then start bashing my opponent, which I think I like. Although alternatively, I can just like play Mom, bounce Leo, and get a Time Walk. But I think I like play Sword, draw land, equip Sword, bounce Leo, kill Deathrite. That seems way better. So I'm going to play towards that. Oh, hey! Bahra, how'd your testing go with that really weird build? I only got to watch a couple of games over lunch. Fuck. This one's spiraling out of control quick. Let's just say it gets weirder. I mean, I like weird. I'm playing Selfless Spirit right now, so I can get on board with weird. I'll be looking forward to that. I think my line here is prelate on 1 to stop the regular spot removal that they can draw, and hope to dodge something like a Culligan's Command for 1 turn before I can get this prelate suited up. Hallowed Spirit Keeper? Alright, alright. You win. That's a card that I've never played, and I've played a lot of bad white creatures. Well done. Well done. Oh. Oh, thank God, it's just a drain. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to just take this 3 and bounce this end of turn, or whether or not I want to protect my life total a little bit more. It's sort of awkward because if I cast it, they can redeploy it, or potentially like play a Liliana if they don't have another land. Well, my life total is getting low enough that I think I'm okay with just making the bounce play now. I think my opponent is drawing to enough blanks, since I have the prelate on 1, that I'm okay with just bouncing it. And now I get to like port them off of it, or Lily, or whatever I want. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that we did have to bounce it again. I don't know how much that actually matters in the grand scheme of things. I have my opponent dead in 2 hits with just the prelate alone, assuming none of my other stuff dies. I think I'm just going to port them down rather than play the Crusader. I'm going to think about it for a minute, though. Because it's super awkward if my opponent just like plays Lily and pluses. Although if they played a Lily, they'd 100% Lily and minus. I guess I'm porting them off of bad lands. Then they'd need another land to cast Leo. Any tips for getting Chili off your hands? Don't put Chili on your hands in the first place. In all seriousness, though, if you have any of that, like, pumice wash, that stuff's amazing. My opponent's best play is 3 mana repeated draw a card, tap 1 of my lands. Okay, that's still dead to board. And now... Okay. So I guess Deathrite Shaman gets the jump block this turn. And then I get to put in Batterskull. Can't cast the Swords of Plowshares or the Ether Vial for anyone who undoubtedly is going to say that in the chat. Now that I can't take my opponent off of red, I will instead take them off of recasting the Leovold. Again, a card that probably doesn't matter. Yep, there we go. Hey, Pleasant Kenobi, thank you for stopping by. I just saw your message now. Alright, so we're playing against Czech Pile. We're on the draw, and we win against Jace TMST. So game 1, win with Prelate on 1 and SoFi. Prelate is best late. Alright, so for Czech Pile, we'll board in the... Oh, don't like what I just did there. We'll board in these 6 cards, maybe Sword of War and Peace. I tend to board out Revoker. It's not consistently good in this matchup. And I tend to board out Swords to Plowshares. You know, there's nothing we want to actually Swords to Plowshare in their deck other than Deathrite Shaman, and the Rip gets that just fine. Of note, I don't really love Prelate in this matchup. It happened to just absolutely hose my opponent in that game. But generally speaking, Czech Pile has a lot of varied removal at different costs, so Prelate doesn't necessarily lock up the game like it does in a lot of other matchups. Yeah, I think this is a really straightforward boarding plan. Like, a Revoker is arguably better than the Prelate, but the Prelate set on 3 can eliminate a lot of outs like Toxic Deluge and Culligan's Command that are just really, really, really good against you. So it's probably fine. And, like, it's even better in the post-board games where you've gone down, like, 4 more 1-drops, where if you do set it to 1 in, like, the earlier portions of the game, like, there's just no downside to you. Yes, 3rd Rip would absolutely be better than Prelate, although we're running Surgicals in this build rather than Rips. Yes, so Prelate and Mom is great. But Mom and most of our creatures is great, right? Like Mom and Thalia, great. Mom and Stoneforge fetching equipment, great. Mom and Crusader, great. It's just really hard to untap with Mom. This is a hand of decisively average power level. Like, it doesn't go back, it's fine, especially after our opponent mulliganed, but it's not an exciting hand. Yeah, exactly. It's like a... I don't know. It's probably like right at like a 5 out of 10 if we are going to rank it. It is just like decisively average. It's not... I don't think it's like good enough to ship, but it's not exciting. Drawing that vial made it insane. Yeah, with the vial, it just became nutty. Drawing the second vial off the top was pretty hot, too. Until we get, like, Pithing Needled or Null Rod for some random reason. Out of interest, why are you on Surgical right now? I like to play 5 pieces of Graveyard Hate in D&T, just sort of as a general rule of thumb. And if I'm playing 5, I feel like a 2-2 split of Surgical and Rip, supplemented by 1 Containment Priest, is probably better than any other combination. Because, like, if you go up to the 3rd Rest in Peace, which is pretty good, you don't necessarily have good things to do with that last slot. I don't know if that makes sense. I'll explain myself more clearly if that doesn't work out. I'm going to play suboptimally here in order to press my double Aether Vial advantage. I think Jitte is probably the worst piece of equipment in this matchup. But, like, next turn, I go for an equip, and I bash in. I get some Jitte counters if my opponent doesn't have anything. And then I have, like, Recruiter for second Stoneforge available as an option. Or Recruiter for Thalia. Man, my opponent should have done whatever they're going to do on my turn, or their turn, 100%. This is such a bad, like, fatal push moment. Yeah. Like, if I had a Thalia, I could have, like, viled it in response and kept my opponent from fatal pushing. Super loose on my opponent's part. Yeah, this turn's pretty silly. No big deal. Hello, opponent. Nice Deathrite Shaman you have there. So for anyone wondering why Aether Vial is a good card, I think that should show you why Vial is good. Okay, so let me pull up some deck lists real quick to just talk about like the Rest in Peace versus Surgical thing real quick. So in this build, there are a lot of matchups where you don't want a third Rest in Peace because siding in 2 is enough. It's only against a lot of like the unfair graveyard decks where you really want the third Rest in Peace. And if it's an unfair graveyard deck, then like a split of Rip, Surgical, Containment Priest is harder to fight against than like always having Rest in Peace. And like Surgical comes down faster, you know, Containment Priest can be put in off a Vial and can also be made uncounterable, and like all of those things do definitely matter. In the red-white builds, though, a lot of times I'm going for the third Rest in Peace because I don't like Fairy, and I'm running 4 pieces of Graveyard Hate in this build rather than 5. And when I'm running 4, I like the stability of a whole bunch of Rest in Peace because this deck goes a little bit longer and is a little slower at closing the game. Because of that, just like having another 2-drop that you can sub in this column is kind of important. Opinions on Relic or Fairy Macabre? I think Fairy Macabre is basically unplayable. It's really, really, really good against Reanimator specifically, and then dead against the rest of the format. Like, I know it's not actually dead, but it's a really low impact card. Like, against Red-Black Reanimator, it gets to play around the Chancellor trigger, you know, which is neat, and you can play it if you tap out for a Thalia, and both those things matter. But generally speaking, Surgical Extraction gets you through a lot of the same spots, and Surgical is good against a ton of decks. Like, the difference between something like Surgical and Fairy is huge against Dredge, for example. Or against a Storm deck, like, Surgical is a fine card, whereas Fairy is unplayable. Anna Voldson played Relic for a long time in his various deck lists, and he seemed to really like it. I was never impressed by Relic. And I've tried some weird things. Like, I played a D&T list that had 4 Relics in the main deck. I've tried. It was just never overly impressive. It just doesn't have the same punch that something like a Rest in Peace has. It also randomly gets Abrupt Decay, just like Rest in Peace does, but for less value. Yeah, if you Fairy a Life from the Loam, you create an opening. If you Surgical Life from the Loam, you know, your win percentage in that matchup goes up by, like, probably, like, 30 to 40%. Like, it's just, like, a night and day difference between the power level of those cards. Is Relic better against the fairer mid-range decks like Bug? Kind of. Like, when you keep graveyards small from the beginning, you can knock them off of balance, but Rest in Peace is just a card that they can't play around. Like, they have to draw Golgari Charm or Abrupt Decay to get rid of it, because, like, it shuts off Goyf and it shuts off Deathrite, as well as some, like, random value cards that they might be playing, like, say, Tombstalker or something like that. So, like, Rip is unbeatable, whereas a lot of times, if they get aggressive with putting stuff into the graveyard, you have to, like, blow the relic, and so it buys you a few turns, but not the entire game. So while we're waiting here, for anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, and tonight we're streaming with Selfless Spirit D&T, which apparently is unbeatable. Haven't dropped the game yet. Most of the games have not been close. Here is the deck list for anyone who is curious. It's relatively stock D&T, with the exception that the Serra Avengers have been subbed for Selfless Spirits. 3 mana 2/2s, indeed crushing. This is real close to a mulligan. This is very, very close to a mulligan. Like, once I cast this Thalia, I can't cast the Jitte, and I don't have the lands for these Flicker Wisps, and I don't have any good Flicker Wisp targets. Since I'm on the draw, I have a lot of cards that can make this hand absolutely insane. Like, ripping an Ether Vial, for example, makes this hand just the Nutter Butters. Ripping a Mother of Runes is pretty great. Like, a Swords to Plowshares for an early opposing creature makes this hand great. Alright. The Flicker Wisp there was not an optimal draw. Bulk do nothing versus Plains do nothing. It is a do nothing mirror match. So I'm gonna play this Thalia and it's gonna get countered. It's gotta get countered, right? There's no way that this just resolves. My opponent hasn't done anything. Oh, shit. That was a Cunning Wish being pitched. That's bad. My opponent is on an Omniscience build of Show and Tell. I can buy time with Flicker Wisps. Holy shit, opponent still has nothing. Yeah, opponent is definitely on, like Show and Tell, Omniscience hybrid deck. Which we don't have the Relic Warder or the Palace Jailer in this list, so that's not good for me. My current plan is, like, mana denial with Flicker Wisp chains and hope that's good enough. Opponent is just bricking off. They've got to be really close to going off in like, some capacity. Like, I just refuse to believe that they kept a hand that wasn't close. Alright, so they were just going for, like, the, like, sneak attack and activate in the same turn to play around Caracas. That's fine. Alright, opponent, you need to show me another creature. Alright, you showed me another creature. Alright. Pair Ubu. Game 1 loss to turn 4 sneak. Alright. So, Priest and Canonist in. Judgments in. Sword of War and Peace in. Swords to Plowshares out. Probably Jitte out. Probably Batter Skull out. The 10-0 dream is dead. Yes, it is. It sure is. I'm taking a quick look to see if there's anything else I can board in, because, like, we have plenty of, like, mediocre cards in this matchup. Like, Crusader isn't great. It's a generic beater, but it's not a disruptive element at all. It's a really good one combined with swords, though. Like, we could bring in Path for Grizzlebrand, but that works very, very, very rarely. And, like, we could bring in Cataclysm, just to, like, you know, destroy a few lands and hope that that's good enough. But I think I'm fine with just staying aggressive. Well, this has the best card in the deck, Aether Vial, and then utter garbage. This hand is pretty good. I'll throw that to the top. And I usually sandbag Caracas in this matchup for a little while. That way, if my opponent just, like, decides to, like, randomly go, like, you know, City, Lotus Petal, Show and Tell, put in a Legendary, I get him with Caracas. I need to put on my bully face. Hold on, let me see if my bully face is up here. Bully face is not up here. Bully face is in the car. Opponent did not shuffle with Ponder. Those Cunning Wishes, they're not doing anything. They're just getting exiled to Force. I opted to leave Caracas untapped to play around, like, Show and Tell and Sneak Attack to a certain extent, but in doing so, I give my opponent the opportunity to go and fetch a Volcanic Island, if they so desire. The Lotus Petal that they have on board means that they already have red mana, though, so I like leaving Caracas up. We're actually in pretty decent shape. If my opponent has, like, a Omniscience, we'll get to put in a Flicker Wisp. And then Council's Judgment away the Omniscience. So we're not too terribly scared of that. And again, want to leave this this Flicker Wisp in my hand rather than play it out. I know that it's one point of power difference, but it's still a 4-turn clock either way. If my opponent has something like a Kozilek's Return, they can cast it now, and I'd sack my Selfless Spirit. I think I want to just wasteland this city and not let them, like, Cunning Wish or equivalent on my turn. Wastelanding on your end step is rarely correct. I think that's just a pump fake mana activation from our opponent. I don't think they actually have anything. Oh, right, he pondered. Okay, that was a small misplay on my end then. So opponent does have something and they couldn't cast it because of Can Mist, so Wastelanding was correct. So my opponent on a 3-turn clock right now. If I play the Flicker Wisp, that changes to a 2-turn clock. But then I have, like, nothing to put in off of Show and Tell. But that might be fine, because I feel like my opponent's next turn is going to be Cunning Wish for Missing Piece, and then try to go off. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play out the Flicker Wisp. Yeah, I just want to give my opponent one less turn in order to do all of their shenanigans. Like, I don't want to give my opponent the chance to, like, Cunning Wish, then Blood Moon, then go off, or equivalent. I just want to put them dead as quick as possible. And if my opponent has something like a K return, then, and I get one attack in, then the Spirit saves them from the following attack and still makes it lethal. I think this Thalia probably locks up the game pretty well, because my opponent can't force it and then do something else. Alright, so you get to Cunning Wish for something disgusting. Yeah, Spirit's really good here. Yep, alright, so you get K return, but you're dead on board if you cast that. Even if you, like, Show and Tell Omniscience. Everybody's indestructible. Yay! So game 2, Selfless Spirit beats K return. And my opponent, like, very well might have known that that was going to happen, but it's my opponent playing towards me being an idiot, thinking that's the only way that they could possibly win. And that very likely was the case. So my opponent conceded very quickly. You know, there wasn't any like pause, hang the head. It was like, oh, this is on board. I just have to make you see it. Yes, your opponent being bad is always an out. Alright, this hand's pretty great. You know, we get to lead, you know, Mom into Thalia, into Canonist, and Wasteland. And opponent mulliganed. Can't ask for much more. Alright, cheers. Bye, Pleasant Kenobi. Thanks for stopping by for a few. Alright, opponent has mooned me. Alright, since my opponent can't, like, Kozilek's return, I kind of want to just attack and push a point of damage. It wouldn't play around a Pyroclasm, but I don't know how likely it is that my opponent is playing both Pyroclasm and K-Return. So I'm going to get a little greedy here. Oh man, opponent does not have more lands. We're going to town. I wish I would have played my Prelate pre-combat. Now that I'm going to play a Prelate and probably lock my opponent out of the game, I'm going to leave Mom back. Because now we've shut off both Kozilek's return and Show and Tell. So now I just need to play around my opponent having Pyroclasm. Watch, children, as Daddy Phil shows you a dirty trick. Oh god, I love this deck. That man could have a family! Not anymore, he doesn't. Yeah, so my opponent said, I should have gone for it. You had to have exactly Caracas. I tried to play around it and got punished. Yep. That is exactly what happened. Alright, so we win. So game 3, win with Mom into Thalia into Prelate and Wasteland. That was a pretty disgusting curve. All right, folks. I'm going to go ahead and throw the deck list up here again so you all can take a look at it if you have just joined the stream in the last couple of minutes. I'm going to go ahead and run to the restroom real quick. If you have any questions, please throw them in the chat, and I'll answer them when I get back. Oh, Pleasant Kenobi, thank you very much for hosting. BRB, buying Selfless Spirits. Why does it have to be burn? Is this like a metaphorical question? Like, why does burn have to exist? Or like, why do we have to get paired against burn? Or did you get paired against burn? Because burn's rough with red-white. I've given up on that matchup. Like, I'm not even playing the lifelink guy, not Fiendslayer Paladin. Yes, Fiendslayer Paladin. I'm not even trying anymore. Like, I just give that one, and I try to do what I can against it, but it's rough. All right, going for the old 5-0. Oh, why does it have to burn? The chili. Oh. I thought this was a more metaphorical question. I saw burn and just assumed. I'm an idiot. Ugh. Yeah, seems like a bad time. Praise be to Thalia. Thalia will fix it somehow. Offer the right prayers and votive offerings. I'm playing Bryant Cook now. Why? Why Storm again? Hey, I'm glad you got paired against him, and not me. You took that bullet for me, and I appreciate that. Yeah, so I talked to Malamujo a while back because he was running a couple of mind break traps in his sideboard. I'm like, hey, what's going on with this? This isn't good, right? And he's like, no, it's not good. But I got pissed. I got paired against Belcher 2 games in a row when I was 3-0, and that was that. And so he ran mind break traps for a couple of weeks. Make another 0 permanent win. I'll see what I can do. I did appreciate the donation last time when we just destroyed that guy. That was disgusting. Yeah, Mind Break Trap is not a great Magic card. Well, sorry, I should rephrase that. Mind Break Trap is not great in D&T, where you have no possibility of casting it in the endgame. With a lot of your other decks, like, that can play Mind Break Trap, you're playing it because, like, you're a Leovold deck, and, like, you can just tap for 4 mana at the end of the game to go and play that. You know, this is assuming that you didn't just want to play Flusterstorm. I know my opponent's a Delver player, so I'm going to keep this hand. See what they're... I think it's Grixis Delver. Yeah, it's Grixis Delver. Oh, nope. Opponent has changed decks. I guess I'm safe to just port my opponent. Like, my opponent isn't going to do anything with that mana at instant speed, so I can just go ahead and port and then have options the following turn. More Deathrite Shaman. What a jerk. That makes me really glad I didn't wasteland my opponent. Oh shit, is my opponent just Jund? God, I hope they're not Jund. So this is awkward. There's no lands in the graveyard. I don't know that my opponent has more lands. I want to play out this Crusader ASAP, because if unchecked, it just wins the game. But throwing it out before my opponent has the chance to bolt anything is not great. Oh, Welshman, congrats on being that close. Alright, I'm doing it. We'll see if I regret it. The Flicker Wisps become better the later the game goes. Like, next turn, if nothing else, I have the possibility of, like, Flicker Wisp and Port. Oh. Oh, my opponent is just Pile, not Jund. Whew. Whew. Good. Good. My opponent made a great play that people don't make enough. It's like, fetch, hold priority, eat it with Deathrite Shaman, brainstorm. Fuck. Fuck! That was devastating. And now we're going to take them off their blue so they can't cantrip. And now we play the waiting game. When would you bring in Gideon out of the board? Fair, grindy matchups and versus control decks. So things like Miracles and Czech Pile, it's really, really good. And also against slower, fair matchups. And do you like 2 Revoker, 2 Sarah, or 3 Revoker, 1 Sarah? In Mono White, I probably like 3 Revoker. But Revoker isn't the greatest right now, so I could see trimming 1 for more beaters. There's some possibility that I'm supposed to just port my opponent off of the Bayou so that they can't drop Leovold if they draw another land, because they might not have that many like actual green sources in their deck. They probably have a Trop though, so it's probably irrelevant. I have the Caracas anyway. My opponent doesn't have counter magic, so I'm going to ram this sword out now. It will probably just get Abrupt Decayed or something, or Culligan's Command or whatever. But I don't want to keep it in my hand and just have it get hemmed. That'd be pretty devastating. Because if I kept it in my hand, I'd also keep a Plains in my hand to play around like Liliana Plus, and then would just get destroyed by him. What? You played 3 rounds of Magic, 0-2 on all of them, and spent 1 minute and 15 seconds on your clock? Well, that's rough. Oh, wow, that's nuts. So cast Stoneforge number 2. If my opponent has a K command, this is the point where they K command to destroy Stoneforge and Sword. Otherwise, I take a turn off from attacking, and I just dump a Batterskull in. Alright, Diabolic Edict, make me sacrifice a creature. Yep, again, good play from my opponent. So since my opponent has 5 lands and doesn't have a 3-drop in the graveyard, I'm not really playing around anything by porting them. So I'm just going to equip to play around a Bolt. Oh. Panda Nakonda, great to have you here. I was really active on MTG Salvation for a long time. I still post there, every couple of weeks, but, now instead of checking it daily, I check it, once a week or something like that, because the traffic there has slowed down a lot. Most of the people have moved over to the source. Alright, Thoughtseize, you get the Batterskull. That's fine. Alright. That's okay. Every creature is a top deck, real threat. Aether Vial, less good. So I can keep my opponent off of blue for Jace, so that's what I'll do. Well, I'm glad you found your way here. Are you familiar with my website as well? That might be new to you if you've taken a break from checking out content. The link is below the chat there. It's called Thraben University, and it's pretty great. Storm again? Well, you've lost the lottery tonight, as did my opponent here. Have at you! Oh man, my opponent's F6'd. Get him. Well, sir, I have flopped my Mirran Crusader on the table. What would you like to do about it? Lose? Jace the Mind Sculptor. I'll take cards that I don't care about for 100. The website gave you database errors. Oh no. I think I want to tap down a land right now so that I can play around my opponent having like a K command. And then I know what to attack. Although I guess I can do that in my main phase just as well and get to play my planes. Alright, so now we can't, like, keep my opponent off of anything mana-wise. So it doesn't particularly matter what we do. So I'm just going to hit a blue-black source, as those are their most valuable mana costs. I probably just need to restart some stuff as far as the website goes. I'll do that after this round. Alright, so my opponent gets the Snapcaster Edict. Oh, my opponent targets Culligan's command. Sure. I don't really see how that's better than Edict, though. Oh, they're just going to, like, make me discard a card, get back their idiot. Okay, that's fair. Oh, you're gonna make me discard a card with it. Yeah, it's a really good play for my opponent. It's a very safe play. I think opponent should 100% do the Snapcaster Edict now before I get to my turn, and not get cute about it and try to, like, get any more value in any way. Yeah, Clone, I agree. Like, my opponent gets wrecked real hard if I have something, you know, like a recruiter there or something like that. Alright, How do I want to do this turn? This is arguably not better than just, like, tapping out and going for Flicker Wisp on another recruiter. But the Thalia that I can just protect and keep buying back seems really good. Alright, I offer my opponent an obvious trade and they take it. I sort of feel like my opponent is light on good cards right now. Joke is on you, opponent. I had 2 extra copies of Caracas. Deal. Your discard does nothing. My opponent has said always yes to Rishadenport, so I should probably just start tapping for Misty. Toxic Deluge for X equals 1. I'm going to try to return this Thalia. You're then going to kill the Thalia? Oh, do you have another hymn? You have a Thoughtseize. Well, I have good news and bad for you. News. The good news is you get a Thalia. The bad news is there's another Thalia right around the corner. Oh, that's so annoying. I mean, I have to get rid of the Revoker. Like, Thalia is protectable, and that definitely matters, but that means my opponent can gain 2 life for the rest of the game. And it, like, negates the damage of the Thalia. This is really unfortunate. It's possible that I'm actually supposed to keep the Revoker. It's really bad to, like, any one piece of opposing removal, though. And my opponent has a lot of that. But if I top deck a creature, then having the Revoker around is good. Yeah, I have a lot of creatures. I still think I'm supposed to keep the Thalia so I don't lose to one removal spell. It just sucks. Yeah, I think you just plan on dodging tests, not beating tests. No, I'm not going to waste the fetch. Like, my opponent is probably pretty close to out of fetchables. The most annoying thing about this game is that my opponent has F6 value and I don't. Because I have to, like, not F6 because of my Karakas and Mother runes. So I'm going to lose more time off the clock than they are. Have we not seen a Volk? Oh no, we haven't seen a Volk. Okay. So they do have at least one more fetchable. Opponent adding mana. Leovold. Alright, that's annoying. I'm not going to bounce that. Now I'm going to bounce that. So now I bounce Leovold and Swords to Plowshares Deathrite Shaman. That stops my opponent's life gain, and then I have them dead in just a couple of turns. Oh yeah, Zach, we've got Selfless Spirits for you, buddy. And we're 4-0. Selfless Spirits stopped a Kozilek's return, which was great. Alright, what the hell are you doing with that? Oh, Toxic Deluge. That's unfortunate. Not what I needed there. Alright, there's that bulk we were talking about. Oh, Jace. Alright, opponent fate sealing me. Put my card on top. That's fine. No, this is game one. So I'm not going to scoop for time. I'm going to make my opponent use up a bunch of their clock in killing me. Yeah, I moved to a different server, Zach, so it's noticeably better. You know what? Screw it. I'm not getting out of this. I think the time it's taking me to port is roughly equivalent to the time it's taking my opponent to, like, Jace, Fate Seal, go through attack, and all their stuff. So I think I'm just, like, roughly at time parity. I'm still down about, you know, a minute or so. So I think I'd rather just move on. Like, I can like bounce the Leo there, port my opponent off of both green sources. They can't cast it. I get Fate Sealed. I get domed for 3. My opponent has me dead in 4 turns, or to Jace before that. I don't think I'm recovering at that point without recruiters. Could not port Caracas and just F6 every turn. Yeah, I guess that's true. So, like, way back, like, 5 or so turns ago, I didn't bounce the Caracas or bounce the Leovold initially because I don't want to give them cards until I have to, and I wanted to keep my options open. Hey, thank you very much for the resub. I really do appreciate your support. Thanks for coming back again. Do I keep Jitte in? Reluctantly so. Jitte's not great in the matchup. It's, you know, roughly as good as a Revoker is. I find Revoker is not particularly dependable in this matchup. So I keep a Jitte over it. Hand's great. Panda, like, honestly, I can't think back that far while also streaming. And I probably need to focus on my play here. Really didn't want my opponent to have a fetch there. It makes my aggressive play of, like, throw Thalia out without protection much, much worse. But my alternative line was just double port my opponent. Well, that works. Yeah, so this is kind of one of the reasons why I keep Jitte in. Even though it's not good, it's removal for their little shitheads that you don't really care that much about. And that matters. So my opponent will do, like, any number of things here, like literally anything, to just get this off the board. Snapcaster Mage, sure, Snapcaster Abrupt Decay. That's unfortunate, but that was going to happen even if I waited to port them in a different phase. Because, like, they'll still just... maybe not. Yeah, so I think if I... was more patient there, like, they just hold the Snapcaster, and then I get blown out later by it. Yeah, that's fine. The reason I made the play that I did was to use my mana more efficiently over the course of 2 turns, in case anyone was curious in chat there. And I'm getting super punished for it by my opponent having, like, yet another K command. Like, the worst part is that my opponent still has, like, another Snapcaster Mage in hand for the Culligan's command, right? Like, that's the real issue. Yeah, this one's not working out so well. You know, we're taking 7 this turn, and then we're effectively dead on board. So, like, I cast Thalia, I equip it. Oh, is this just, like, not even gonna resolve? Oh no, we're just dead, right? Because we block 1 Snapcaster, we take 3, and then we're drained. Alright. We lost the 5-0 dream. Opponent drew very well that game, and we bricked off a little bit, which is slightly unfortunate, but like, it's fine. That happens. Sorry I didn't talk much in the last couple of minutes there. I wanted to like be clock focused in case we had to go to a game 3. All right. So I was on the play there and I lost. So game 2, lose to, what was that? 4K commands, right? Because it was Snapcaster K command, Snapcaster K command. Yeah. So we weren't getting there that time, you know, more or less whatever we had going on. That's a great set of draws for my opponent here. All right, so let's recap tonight. Tonight was wins against Bug Delver, Red Prison, Czech Pile, and Sneak and Show, and then a loss to Czech Pile there. You think it's possible that the recruiter for Thalia was wrong? So what would you do in that spot? Like, if I don't recruiter for Thalia, then my line that turn is like probably just port, pass, tick Vile up. Maybe like Vile in, or maybe hardcast recruiter, then next turn get Flicker Wisp, hold up Flicker Wisp, try to grind value that way. Or like I can recruiter, get Stoneforge, put in Stoneforge. Yeah, so like the issue with that is like that it's soft to a removal spell. You know, if we recruiter for Wisp and my opponent has a removal spell, they just save it for when we tap that Vile, and then we just have a Flicker Wisp with no value, and we go downhill pretty quickly there. The play that I took has really high upside if the Thalia makes it around the table, because then we have like Thalia plus Caracas plus double port. I guess alternatively I could have like cast recruiter, hold Thalia. I would have played around the deluge they had, but not the rest of the infinite removal they had. So like, Rec, there's no guarantee that we get to even start the chain, right? Because we're on 4 lands with a Vile on 2. If I hardcast the recruiter, get Wisp, I can't immediately use it for protection. Or if I wait a turn, then yeah, it's hard to say. I think regardless, we're not beating the army of K commands. Like that game, at any point, I needed a Rest in Peace or a Cataclysm to kind of like get myself out of the situation. I'm not going to say like that my line was like 100% correct. I think there are a bunch of like lines with varying degrees of upside there. Oh man, Bahra, I know. I've played Darfleet Daredevil against that before. When you get to like flashback their fiery confluences in the real end game and just like dome them for 6 or like kill 3 artifacts, it's disgusting. So just kind of talking about the Flicker Wisp line a little bit more. Both lines are a little bit soft to a piece of spot removal. So I took one that had recursion via Caracas via one versus one that has high potential value if my opponent doesn't have a spot removal spell, because I think the chances of them having a spot removal spell are high. And I think if I play Recruiter get Flicker Wisp, I think my opponent just like main phase Culligan's command, blow up Vile, deal 2 to your Recruiter, And then I think I'm just hosed for that whole game. So I think I like my line. Oh god, did my opponent, like, not play a cantrip, like, at all that game? That's insane. Wow, that's neat. Oh, okay, yeah. Not seeing one in game, yeah, because their graveyard was basically empty at the end, right? Like, it was just that, like, K command. Wow, drawing that well without any cantrips is impressive. Not that my opponent didn't play well. Like, there were some really good lines in there, like the whole, like, Snapcaster Mage, block the Mirran Crusader, K command, buy the Snapcaster back, destroy one of my things. Like, there were a lot of great lines in there. My opponent played well, but he or she drew, like, an absolute madman to boot. Tap down red mana, end of turn recruit for Wisp. Main phase, Wisp for Crusader, hold Vial to put Crusader in. That's probably fine. But didn't my opponent have Deluge too? So, like, we're just not beating it no matter what we do. What about holding Thalia until we can protect? Like, that's a fine line versus, like, a piece of spot removal. But it is kind of rough if they just get a turn off from taxation. Oh, Deluge was game 1. Okay. Sorry, it's starting to blur together. But yeah, it was a really interesting spot. Regardless, I don't think we're getting out of it. All right, folks, I think that's all I've got for you tonight here. You know, we ended up 4-1. That was pretty fantastic. I'm happy with that result. The mono white builds have been performing, you know, about as well as the red white builds have. So that's, you know, that's a good sign. Playing mono white might be pretty reasonable right now in a world where, like, Grixis Delver is just absolutely everywhere, because the mono white has more, like, game against that than red white does. Sorry, I'm scanning streams here that I can potentially host. Wait, we haven't seen Spirit of the Labyrinth. Yeah, you know my feelings on Spirit of the Labyrinth. I hate that card. I think it's relatively unplayable. No, I hit my 5 games for the night. We went through them relatively quickly, but, you know, I usually stream 1 league, and however long that takes is however long I stream for. But I will be back on Wednesday. Alright, again, subs, feel free to check your messages on Twitch to get the poll for what deck list I'll play for the bonus stream. That'll probably happen this weekend. I'm waiting for Card Hoarder to give me stuff. I gave you a few choices of things like Maverick and Blue-White D&T and a couple other things. I think that's all I'm going to say here. And I'm just going to go ahead and host someone else who's playing Legacy. Good night, folks. Thank you for subscribing and following.